But I want to take it to the streets on a poll.
Okay.
Do you believe, Neil, if the Lions win tonight, is the division essentially wrapped up? Because I believe that it is. And you guys know me, man. I don't just throw this around on some bullshit. Like, I'm different than a lot of these people. I believe everything I say. I'm not trying to fire you up or anything like that. This is what I believe. Being around sports, these opportunities present themselves every so often. Like, there's not as much that can be gained next week against Carolina other than it's a game you should win. Like, that's the only opportunity. It's a game you should win. That you can get a B- on the exam and still win. That's all it is. When you get later on, when Green Bay comes rolling into town, that could be the finisher. You see what I'm saying? Like, not every week. Everybody says, Neil, there's still 14 games left, but they're not all the same. You see what I'm saying, D-Mac?
No, absolutely.
They're not equal.
No, they aren't equal. They have different narratives, obviously. And number one, you see how fragile, not just your team, this whole league is as far as players and injuries. And just like that, God forbid you have a Chubb, a Saquon, something like this. We've already, suffered it in our backfield, and we've had injuries enough, and you see how it can affect. So every game's a narrative. That's why it's so important to take care of the games at hand and what it means. I think the biggest thing, too, Neil, on the bigger scheme of things, and I'm typing this answer in right now, right? Somebody asked me, and what would you compare it to back in the day the Red Wings played? And I said, this is sort of like, so I never missed the playoffs, never worried about making the playoffs. But this is like that late season
I
game.
never missed the playoffs.
Sexual. Right? If you're playing that late season game, and who do we play in the first round usually, right? Maybe Phoenix, maybe Nashville or something like this. But you have a game in March, late in the season, that you probably could have this matchup. Well, you want to exact your will into it. Maybe you're going to
lay some groundwork.
You're going to lay some groundwork to what's to come, right? And that's how I relate it for what's going to come up, because you want to put in their minds how hard it's going to be. You don't want to let them off the hook. It's not as intense as maybe if this game, which is going to happen later in the season down at Ford Field, right, might be a Dallas or Colorado or Anaheim or somebody who you think you're going to have to play in the finals, or maybe it's that Eastern Conference team like the Philadelphias or the Washingtons, or teams you play later in the season that you might meet in the finals. Same sort of thing applies. Right here, this applies in division and exacting your will and controlling your destiny.
Dom Rivera in the WoodwardSports.com chat thread just locks a lot of bricks with the finger pointing up. WoodwardSports.com chat poll. Do you agree with me? If the Lions win tonight, the division's essentially wrapped up. 67% of you say yes. I thought that would be higher.
Me too.
I thought it was going to be a 75-ish. You're scared, not stoked. That's okay. Oh, you don't like to hear it when I get to say it, because now I'm leading the charge. So now it's all different. I'm just telling you guys, man. It's the way that I see it. No, but I mean, I really expect, with Decker being back, D-Man, I really expect 150 plus on the ground tonight. I really do.
Is that just because even with injuries with Montgomery and stuff like this? So does that talk more? You're saying more about your offensive line than you're saying about them defensively and their linebackers and stuff?
I don't care about them defensively.
Relevance?
I think, and look, I know people are going to say, Jair Alexander, he's questionable. He's supposed to go, right?
Yeah,
that's
more
it.
than likely.
Rashawn Gary's a very good player. And we talked about this yesterday. I do say that they have better players than we think they do on their defense. But they're not elite. The Lions' offensive line is elite in the National Football League. As in, 25 teams would say, hey, can we trade you our offensive line for your offensive line? And they would say, no, this is my offensive line. No, we would not make that trade. So for me, I think that they're going to show that they're elite. And even Taylor Decker at 70% or 60% is enough to flip the scale to where they can impose. And look, you can't handicap turnovers, so I can't work on that assumption. But I will say this. All things being equal, they will road grade the Packers tonight.
Guys, let him cook. You know what I just thought? And this is for Lucas and the boys in the back or whatever. Penay's back on the right side. They're going to run right this time. It's going to be behind Penay. Remember how we were all yelling last? Stick around to the stream tonight. You'll know what I'm talking about. But I just thought of that, Lucas. I won't have to listen to you whine and cry. I'm running behind Matt Nelson.
Yes. Alex Haggerty, I agree with you, Neil. Look at our tough games that are left in the schedule. There's lots of suck where we thought it would be difficult. I will say this, and I'm calling it now, that BMG, you got another one in you? Do they have a future spread for the Lions-Chargers game?
I don't know. I think that
they probably pull that down during the week. I'm calling the shot now. There's a very good possibility the Chargers will be a get-right pick over the Lions. It's just one of those schedule losses that happens.
Right, that's the Carolina game last year.
What's that?
It's coming off the bye week.
Yep, I know.
Wow, we'll get there. We'll get there.
I know, but you can flex it this way. The Chargers will be a betting favorite in that game.
That's fair.
You know what also too, Neil? Think about what it does for your team momentum-wise. Like when you're starting to build and you believe in it, and the more you put tape and the more you go back to back the reps and then you start doing it, you get into another gear. We see that with all the teams that we're trying to chase, right? You saw that the other day with like the Philadelphias, right? You see that with the San Franciscos, the Kansas Cities. That's what also too. You get in a rhythm, and it not that it gets easier, but you get in that flow, and everything is just. You know, it seems that you stay healthier than other teams, right? It seems that things come to you a little bit easier. So taking care of it right now is so important. So, is anybody like me? Like feel so much better, more confident about winning this game than I did about the Seattle game at home. If I'm going to be honest,
I'm with you.
My vibe to whatever, I was worried about that game just because of what Seattle has done and Pete Carroll in the past, but also to that same point, the track record that we have. I mean,
and here's what it is too, D-Mac. Like, you know what pro sports is essentially, right? It's matchups. The Seahawks,
100%.
The Seahawks, for whatever reason, are a bad matchup for the Lions, and it has a lot to do with that receiving core that they have. Green Bay does not have the equivalent of that. It has a lot to do with Pete Carroll. It has a lot to do with their game plan. It's just you run across teams that are a bad matchup. My only concern about that is, you know how this works, right? Say the Lions win tonight, they go on, they win the division. That means you're hosting somebody in a playoff game. You're probably going to be the third best division winner, right? Probably think the 49ers of West, then the East, then probably the Lions, and then the NFC South, right? So you're going to get a middle-of-the-road wild card team.
Well, you're going to get a good team.
I.e. a Seattle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Like, you're not going to get the Vikings or something like that.
So then you get retribution.
Yeah, no, that is true. That is absolutely true.